Alright. Guess we only have one package this week. I was hoping for two, but the second one didn't ship until today, so it's obviously not here in time. Oh well. First we got the Strongest Tanks Labyrinth raids. Tank with a rare 9999 resistance skill got kicked from the Heroes Party. Up to Protagonist. That's actually kind of a funny tagline. Regions A and B. Audio. Come on, come on. Just Japanese. So Japanese with English subs. Different under the slipcover. It's nice. What do I remember about this show? I remember it had some neat ideas, but I don't know if it felt like it had the right focus. Oh, I guess there was something sort of there. I just don't remember what I felt off about it, but oh well. It's still nice to have stuff coming out on home video. And while I would hope to be able to potentially watch stuff on the TV if I really need to, I'm not sure where I was going with that. Sorry, I'm a little bit completely exhausted. Next we have Horimiya, the missing piece, which I do believe is season 2. Does it? Yeah, it says season 2 right there. Oh, before we go with that, I see an A and a B. Japanese and English audio, so it's got sub and dub. Cool. Now we just get inside. It feels a little thicker, so wait, was this one Blu-ray and DVD? Okay, yeah, I saw the Blu-ray and the DVD symbol, so we can expect this to be both. I guess before I dig too much deeper, let's see. Okay, yeah, I got my finger got in there, and I don't feel like I'm at risk of accidentally paper cutting myself, so we will finish taking this out. Although, as you can see, I'm a little impatient about it. This artwork looks familiar because, you know, I'm seeing some of it there. So this one could be the imagery on the... No, some of this looks a little too elaborate to also be, but, you know, we saw the image there. I don't even remember the premise of this show. What are these pink ones? That's a Blu-ray symbol there. So... those are two Blu-rays. Those would be our 2 DVDs. And that. Cool. And last but not least, this would be Season 1 Collection Bastard Heavy Metal Dark Fantasy. Which makes me think this isn't the same Bastard. I mean, it could be the same franchise as the one that came out a billion years ago. This is a more recent incarnation. Let's get this plastic off first. Take a peek. Not a pink. That's a region A. That's English and Japanese. Sentai. 24 episodes. Yeah, this doesn't sound like the thing from before. I wonder if there's a year somewhere on here. I don't want to look too much. I'm curious. Feels like I missed some plastic, or sounds like it rather. Oh yeah, this is just completely broken. You can see there's a little piece of the tab missing there. So I will look at it that way. Oh, there it is. Let's just set that to the side over there. Okay, that wasn't much of a set. Yeah, I agree. But with it being loose, it's a little trickier to close. Oh, and this disc got free. go. Well, here's this week's physical anime collection update.
Alright. I guess at the top of the list is something I think I mentioned last week I was going to watch. It's not anime, although it is definitely in that video game anime watching sort of culture, I guess. That would be the first 3 episodes of Season 1 of Arcane. And if you're not aware, Arcane is a show that's on Netflix, and I guess Netflix's name is on that on disc, so they're apparently part of its production. But it's related to League of Legends. I can't entirely tell you how, because I'm not familiar with it. I know it's a MOBA. At least I hope it is. Otherwise, you know, I'm really wrong there. Which I think means it's kind of similar to Defense of the Ancients, Dota. What was the other third big one? I can't remember. I've never been a big MOBA fan myself. I'm just kind of aware of it and know it's big. And I thought League of Legends was pretty big, but maybe I'm mistaken on things. But the point is that I know that there's a lot of established lore, characters, etc. already going into it. And I think also of... Well, I guess I just don't know how much of the world has been part of it, if that was created for this or not. It feels like it. But I guess I should just talk about it. First of all, I thought it was actually pretty good. I'm not surprised. I kind of went in there knowing that, you know, it does some things good. And I was glad to see that I didn't even reach the parts I kind of explained some of the stuff about why our main character is very clearly not a Mary Sue character. That's something that's definitely been levied against a lot of other characters, but she's a good example of actually a really good protagonist. So, like, the first episode begins with them doing something, and I think it's good because the very beginning of the first episode is essentially the inciting incident. And while it's possible that there's probably more stories kind of centered around that come together, for the most part of these 3 episodes, the things that involve Vi, which I believe is short for Violet, which may be the name of a character, everything centering around her feels like main story. And there's other stuff that's interesting, but it doesn't feel like too much of a distraction because it almost feels like they are kind of related in some way. And I guess I'll have to see what all that means as the season goes on. Because it's interesting because it seems to me that the show is called Arcane because of this, what feels like a side story sort of stuff. But so far, at least in these 3 episodes, none of it has really been about that. But the things that make her really good is, you know, they begin with the inciting incident, which is a good storytelling thing, because, you know, it's kind of like I remember the beginning of Game of Thrones and me just saying, okay, well, they did some shocking stuff in the first episode, but I'm not sure if I cared about this. And I kind of cared a little bit more later on in the first season. But this one, it's like, okay, it's setting this stuff up, and the events that are happening in there are because of that. And that makes it interesting. And the execution of that does a really good job of establishing her character, but it's definitely not, oh, she's an insufferable twat sort of thing. I mean, there may be elements of her that are insufferable, and I would say it's mostly the stereotypical, she's a young person sort of stuff. And they don't overplay that too much. Instead, you know, it's like, okay, they're showing she's really good and nimble. She's good at maneuvering stuff. She may even be better than her friends, but she doesn't talk down to them or make fun of them for that. They're there for a purpose, and she's just saying, come, follow me. And it's very leaderly and entertaining. And, you know, the way the friends react to it, maybe some of them are a little more unsure. They're like, yeah, I can do this, I can follow you, you know. All of that stuff I thought worked really good, and it, you know, I think it does a good job of establishing her as the leader of that group, and they do it by showing you and not like telling you or forcing it. You know, they didn't have to make them all stupid people, I guess, and they didn't. Likewise, you know, in episode 3, there was a fight scene where it's just like, all right. And there were a lot of things that made it where, in reality, she probably would have had her ass kicked because, you know, weight differences are not a thing. It's boy, a heavyweight boxing champion would, I say boxing champion, but probably a heavyweight boxer who's, you know, just kind of into it would probably kick the butt of even some professional lightweights because the weight differential is just extreme. But putting that aside, we can... I feel like it doesn't... You don't feel it. You see, she's been training. And they don't make it out to be like, oh, she's just like naturally gifted at it. She looks like she's been putting in effort and she's good at it, and it's great. Likewise, and this was pointed out in a different battle, a different fight that I haven't seen yet, but even this one, it's like, all right, and yeah, she is coming out on top, but she's taking damage. It's like, it knows, you know, the fight isn't just some power fantasy if you want it to be an entertaining fight. It needs to have back and forth. It needs to be something that looks like it's challenging our main character, and I'd say there's different ways you could do that. Sometimes you can make something that challenges somebody, but it's just like, why is this challenging these people? I think actually Dragon Ball Daima episode 15 kind of feels like that. It's like, okay, yeah, they all have guns and they're pretty strong guns, I guess. You know, that they do seem to cause temporary paralysis for our Z fighters child mode given, but I feel like they should still be wiping the floor with these people. It's like, why is this giving them struggles? It kind of makes the battle in episode 15 here a little unfulfilling. There's some neat animation moments in there, and I'd say it ended pretty fun, and then there's a couple of moments in there where it's just like neat stuff. I think the main focus of the episode was probably to make sure that we understood something that the show is doing that I think is pretty easy to predict. I think both me and another person I know that's watching it predicted some of this stuff, but fine. It's setting up for a finale, I would say. But yeah, that's Dragon Ball Daima episode 15, and I think that says good things about Arcane, that I could compare it with Daima and say that I feel like Arcane has done a better job in these first 3 episodes. And there's not everything about it that sits perfectly with me. I'm actually not a big fan of the base idea for the world, I guess. Like, I guess I'm not sure how much I care about the struggling lower class underneath a upper classing. There's elements of it that I'm like, I can't help but feel like some stuff gets oversimplified. But I don't know that Arcane's necessarily doing a bad thing with it. It's just a setting that I sort of am uncomfortable with. And there's always that element, like I said, you know, you got little kids doing little kid things, which is, well, I guess little kid things is not the right way to put it. I guess it would be a somewhat incomplete, possibly naive expectation, and they don't overdo it. Thank God they don't overdo it. But, you know, it's still a little bit there, and I could see people having issues with some of that stuff, but overall, I have to say that Season 1 is off to a good start. Now, I wonder if I got glimpses of maybe some people not being completely satisfied with Season 2. I think it would be great if this was something that was completed in one season. It doesn't feel like it would be out of the question, but I guess I'll have to see more of it to kind of actually get my thoughts on that. But, you know, Arcane, doing a good job. Off to a good start, at least. Bogus Skill Fruit Master, episode 4. Fine played into a little bit of the plot that I thought it should maybe do before then, but I don't know. I guess it was okay. It's not being as fun of a show as I would have hoped its premise would be. And I think what I mentioned in episode 3 is about why it hasn't been there, I guess. Possibly The Greatest Alchemist, episode 4. Let's see, we had that. Are they going to do something else? Once again, I've forgotten where the episode ended. I guess stuff it did was fun. Some actual adventuring stuff. Oh yeah, they maybe started with some of that stuff, which could be okay. I'm saying stuff a lot. I'm really trying to process, but I'm also very exhausted. So I'm trying to also at least dig out what I felt about the episode. And while I don't remember it perfectly well, I think it was okay. While the 4th episode of Dr. Detective did come out, that was low enough on my list of things I was going to potentially watch that it ended up not getting watched. Just too much stuff to do. It's not a show that I've dropped per se, because I am curious about what episode 4 is, but we'll have to see if I continue it or not. Magic Maker, episode 3. This is a bit of a mix of an episode. So this is the 3rd episode, so the evaluation point, the 3 episode, it's really hard to tell. On the one hand, the progression of magic in this world is a little on the slow side. Maybe not too slow or anything like that, but you're not getting a lot of... I guess it's hard to tell where this show is going to be at the very end, because it feels like it will probably get a 12-episode series, and while there will be neat things that happen, maybe it might not be the most fulfilling. I guess we'll have to see. It's really hard to tell. I can say that this episode kind of had a mix of things that are, like, neat. Like, they introduced goblins, and the one goblin that we saw was really neat looking, especially the way they did its eyes and animated its eyes. It was neat, but the way the confrontation went, it felt like a gimme to a certain degree, and that's right. I also had a problem with the show introduced, okay, this medical thing needs to happen, and I guess he didn't exactly bring medical knowledge to his world, but maybe medical knowledge that is known in that world, but maybe isn't as wide known and widespread. But the problem is, it felt like the show just handing freebies out. So it didn't feel like, oh yes, he had something really neat and interesting to bring there. It just sort of like, okay, he kind of found a maid that's good at sewing and told her to sew a wound shut, basically. And while I think he would have had basic ideas on maybe how some of that stuff, I would be pretty sure that it's not as simple as the way it was just put in that show, and it's extra worse because the show also says, oh, there must have been some sort of medical genius in here. I'm like, show, you're pushing it a little bit too much. Stick with the magic. Magic is fine. But the way he used magic against the goblin was just, yeah, also gimme. So episode 3 felt like it got some gimmies. It also doesn't feel like it's setting a pace of tone where we can feel like maybe it'll be an exciting end to the core season. We'll have to see, but I guess that's where it is. I don't find it unwatchable, but it is possible that people might not see as much meaning in it, I guess. Daily Life of a Middle-Aged Online Shopper, episode 3. So I mentioned how episode 2 was nice. Oh, and this is episode 3, so I need to remember the evaluation of the show itself at this point. It seems okay. It seems to have set itself up in a different way, but yeah, I guess, and this is common with a lot of these isekais, especially ones that have a little bit of that power tripping, where sometimes they can feel a little convenient. I mean, Greatest Alchemist has its conveniences as well, That one's not been too bad in that regard. It hasn't felt that bad. I think this one felt it a little bit with the main character's relationship with the merchant lady. Like, it's not too bad, but maybe it's a little on the nose, but not as bad as other things. But I'm trying to remember where the episode ended. I think it ended with certain things. That's right. There was the purple cat. Not to be confused with the purple cat girl. I guess we still got more hints, but the hungry orphan girl that we've seen going through adventures that is very clearly going to be with him at some point. Still not with him, and it's still not clear when they would. So I guess it's a strange thing, but it is. So, strange show. Probably better than the other two. Only one other episode 3 so far. Okay. So probably better than that, but yeah. Dr. Stone, Science Future, Season 4, Episode 3. It was an interesting episode. A little shonen-y, unfortunately, with mostly... they introduced crocodiles, American crocodiles, and I'm pretty sure American crocodiles would not try to hunt like that. They are notoriously known as one of nature's premier ambush predators. So they wouldn't come up to a thing in force and attack it. That seems more like the realm of a hippopotamus, to be honest. And a hippo wouldn't be doing it in order to try to eat the people inside, but rather as a sign of territorial dispute. Now, maybe they evolved to have territorial disputes, except that they had a scene where the crocodiles were clearly thinking, meat, meat, meat. And, you know, it's a funny joke, and I would actually like to try a crocodile burger. I think there's a restaurant near me that actually serves alligator, or alligator head specifically. I didn't end up eating there, but I'm curious. I'm definitely curious. But, you know, I didn't, so I haven't, so... Overall, fun episode. I guess it's setting up for a confrontation, but we'll have to see if maybe this one is something that I don't mind as much. We'll just have to see what happens, I guess, but fine. Season 3 is off to a fine start. It feels like when you introduce a multi-month-long cross-sea voyage, there's always that risk of, oh yeah, it could easily just drag on. But it's been doing a good job of keeping good pacing, interesting things happening. So, fun stuff. From Bureaucrat to Villainous, Episode 3. What happened in this episode? Talk of hair, that... They did a thing. I'm trying to remember the details of what happened. I felt like what happened was entertaining enough. Quite fun. Still looking forward to the next episode. But I'm blanking on the details of everything that happened. Maybe everything I'm remembering that happened. It ended with something at the end of the episode. And this is in episode 3. So I'm not sure. I can't remember if it set something up, but I don't think it has a definitive feeling final goal or destination. But it has been pretty fun and refreshing for the 3 episodes I've seen so far. So maybe that's what I can say about that. Next up is Worthless Appraiser, I'm Actually the Strongest. This is also in episode 3. Strange episode. Let's see if I can remember enough to put everything into feeling. I did like some of the interaction near the end. It was kind of amusing and entertaining, but again, feels like the show giving a bit of a freebie. They've introduced why the 2 characters that are main characters met deep in the Labyrinth are able to still be with him, but I sort of feel like now that it's gotten past the part where they've been important, it's almost blanking a little bit on them. So, I guess you could say that episode 3 just feels like it is a little all over the place, unfocused. Like, if they're supposed to be a party of characters, it doesn't feel like it entirely. I mean, it's partially there, but it doesn't feel like it entirely. And there's just weird turns to the story that's like, that I don't think that works as well. So, for example, the people that abandoned him in the first episode, well, it's like, okay, the way it gave its resolution to that was by showing us that one of the characters is, I don't know, telling contradictory stories about what actually happened and kind of having a pity party. But for some reason, our main character shows up there. Now, we can assume that the guy's been doing it a lot, but it's still one of those things where it's like, we didn't get any indication on why he would be going to that specific bar, because he shows up, but he seems to only show up in order to leave. You know, to say something and leave. And like, it didn't feel like he was there for a different purpose and just happened to run into him, so the show feels like it's missing something. So, you know, there's a lot of fun elements there, and a goal destination, and I think they revealed useful information in terms of, I guess, where it would be going in the far future, but yeah, a bit of a messy thing, I guess. Let me see, we had Welcome to Japan, Miss Elf, Episode 3. We had that. They're introducing another character. I guess we'll be curious to see. They're not leaning super heavily on Miss Elf being in Japan. Like, they're exploring the fantasy world a bit more. And if there's a problem with that, I would say it's that I don't know if I have a good feeling for what am I expecting from them exploring the fantasy world. If it was something like they, I guess, take on more members of their party and introduce more people to Japan, and you get to live vicariously through more people, I think that actually sounds fine. But I don't know if that's what it's planning to do. So, yeah. Entertaining so far. Not sure what to make of Episode 3 there. Curious to see what Episode 4 will bring, though. Because that answers some of those questions, but, you know, it's hard to tell if you can really say, oh, I know exactly what I'm going to get from this series by Episode 3. Oh, well. Let me see. I did not watch Ubel Blatt Episode 3. That was another one of those things where it's queued up. And if I get the energy, I will probably watch it and catch up. But we'll have to see. I do want to try to give it a 3-episode try. Because it's not necessarily been bad. It's just not necessarily been good, I guess. Let's see. Next up we have I May Be a Guild Receptionist, Episode 3. So far, it's been fun. So, like, the title of the show would make you think that it's a potential one-trick pony, but it hasn't been. It has a continuing narrative. I do think they set up what's going to happen in Episode 4, because they set that up. It's like, okay, that's a Chekhov's gun that's going to get fired for sure. Actually, they did reveal that too, so... So, entertaining. 3 episodes. It's really hard to say if I have an idea of what to expect for an end goal, but it's not been as one trick as I was afraid it would be. It's just been fun, I guess. Beheneko Episode 5. Are we already at 5 episodes? Jeez. I think this episode was actually pretty fun. If it didn't have the lewd parts of it, it actually would just be complete fun. Now, consider that to be something of a... I guess, you know, me enjoying the site, but not super entertained by it. So, you know, make of that what you will. If you're the kind of person that really likes that stuff, and you like a good story, then this one may actually be doing pretty good in that regard. Things to think about. Solo Leveling, Season 2, Episode 16. I've been finding where this season has been going to be pretty fun. So far, it hasn't felt like it's been, I guess just, oh, we've got a premise and we're just dragging it on. It's been, entertaining and moving forward with stuff. And I think the direction it went is like, okay, in terms of what it's doing right here, that's fun. And it actually made me go back and rewatch some season 1 episodes and some scenes from season 2 as well, because I think it's actually doing a good job of just being fun. So good job, season 2. Keep it up. I Left My A-Ring Party, episode 3. I guess some okay stuff in there. Entertaining. I'm just trying to think, do I have anything I can say for certain about how I feel? I guess we got the main character's dream, and so that's going to be what his goal is, I guess, and that's the goal of the series. And okay, I guess. Not sure what else to say about it. God, I've been talking for a long time. Sorry, y'all. Zenshu, episode 4. Fun episode. I think the show continues to have good dialogue centered around its premise and doing interesting things. The drawing this time was actually kind of surprising. It's like, I'm not sure if I entirely believe that would actually do that, but the truth of the matter is it was just entertaining enough to think that it did work. And I do believe it's a reference to another anime. I think I know the name, but instead of saying the name, I'm just going to say, yeah, I thought it was a very fun episode. Red Ranger, episode 3, I haven't watched. It's on the queue, and I'm not giving up on the show because I want to give it a 3-episode watch attempt. And then finally, today's 3 things. We got Arifureta, season 3, episode 13. Yeah, that's right. And it's spending a lot more time on this moment than I would have thought, but it's been, I thought, pretty good character stuff for characters other than, I guess, our main. So it's like establishing the whole group really well. And it's making people go through some interesting stuff. And it's very clear that the next episode is also more of this same. But overall, it's been nice. My worry is that the episode after the next one is that one. And I think that one could be actually very important and the most notable of these. But yeah, it's all stuff. I'm enjoying what season 3 is continuing to do. Headhunted to Another World, from Salary Man to Big 4, episode 5. I thought it was a pretty fun episode. I think the show's staying very strong and doing well with its basic fundamental premise. Yeah, and I think they set up what's happening in the next episode, and it sounds like a notable thing. So overall, I think it's doing a good job of keeping its premise feeling fresh and interesting. And then last but not least, I'm a noble on the brink of ruin. Might as well try mastering magic, episode 5. I guess it's entertainingly doing stuff. It really does remind me to some degree of In Another World with my smartphone. I sort of feel like I enjoyed the smartphone more, but it's kind of hard to tell how much of that is, I guess, because of because I got to watch all of season 1 all at once, so it's hard to tell what I would have thought about that show compared to this show if I was only on 5 episodes of both. But it feels like there's something similarly spirited going on between them, I guess. Yeah, I don't know what to say other than just, I observed that. So, anything else? Well, let's see, I do know I had to play some Dead by Daylight. I don't know if I've got anything notable to mention there. And the reason I had to was because I had to make sure I put the time in to finish the tome and the event stuff that's about to end as of tomorrow, I believe, if not more. So I made sure I got all of that stuff done. Time with people. But yeah, the big thing here is my apartment's doing a chimney clean and inspection. And I don't need it cleaned because I never use it. But I respect the fact that they want to do an inspection of the stuff. And the big problem for me is that if you remember the apartment walkthrough, my entertainment center is in front of the fireplace because I just never use it. I'm pretty temperature tolerant, and worst case, if I feel a little chilly, you know, I could huddle in a room with a space heater or underneath the covers or take a hot shower or bath. I have a lot of options, and as you can tell, some of those also don't necessarily require power, like huddling out under the covers. You know, I stayed surprisingly comfortable doing that. I digress. The point being that I had to break down the entire entertainment center, which increases the possibility, because I know one of you asked to describe my anime watching setup, and while I don't watch a lot of my new anime on the entertainment center, I think it's an important part of talking about it, because sometimes I do fall back on it, and you know, obviously I watch anime on there with my Friday friends, so kind of giving an overall picture of all that stuff seems like what I would need to do if I record that video, but we'll have to see if I even have the energy to try to do that, because, you know, I'm not very physically fit. Moving all that stuff has left me quite sore. I'm not trying to pop my back here, but oh god, I got tight muscles. Oh. So, yeah, getting old is hard, especially if you're not keeping in shape. No unusual facts there. But, yeah, I'm not sure if I'll actually go through with, we'll have to see. Hopefully, I'll have the energy to do it. It'll be an extra video or something that I post. I'll have to make decisions. But, before then, yeah, I can't really think of anything else to mention outside of all this stuff. I mean, video's already been going on for a long time. Sorry, y'all. So, I'll wrap things up. Y'all, have a nice week.